All right, friends, we're doing another video, a reaction video to JasonBlaha's video, bro. Gym lifting, recruiting, fitness, gear slave. Yes, man. So, the bumbleclot himself, JasonBlaha, says, why you only gained fat when you bulked? Oh, why did you only gain fat when you bulked? Because you're bulking. You're getting fat. Well, I know why. Here's the thing: you can't do this so-called bulking and build muscle, but not what he's doing. Look how small his arms are and everything. Look at his shoulders; they're so tiny. Look at him. You know, this is a really nice shot of him, isn't it? He looks really, really tiny here. That's a side shot. A side shot will tell you a lot about you, your thickness. He's narrow. Look at that. Oh.
For the people who claim they only gain fat when they bulk, hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would chat with you guys and gals.
I don't know why. Because they're adapted doing concentric lifting. They're adapted to the eccentric, and they're lifting concentrically, which has nothing to do with building anything.
Bit about this today. A quick reminder, if you guys would please click like down below. I would greatly appreciate it. If you are not following me or subscribing yet, please do so, and please drop me a comment down below. I would appreciate it so much if you would do that. Thank you. All right, let's get over to the point. I see this a lot in comments. I've seen this a lot with clients, with former clients who they're like, Jason, I can't gain muscle, and in fact, every time I bulk, I gain mostly fat. I gain nothing but fat. I gain nothing but fat every time I bulk, and you look at them and go, well, you're not fat now, you're 150 pounds. They're like, okay, see where we're about to go with this? There's a solution to this problem. And they think they're a hard gainer, they think they have a problem, and I'm like, well, your problem, do you want to know what the problem is? Or like what? You're not on 2 grams of steroids, growth hormone, insulin, and IGF-1. They're like, what?
Oh, you're not on all these hormones. Is that it? So that's why the bulking didn't work. They only got fat because they didn't take this IGF-1 and all this kind of stuff. Wait a second. Eccentric exercise, it increases IGF-1, growth hormone, and testosterone through the roof. Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? In eccentrics.
Yeah. See, you're drug-free. Or you're on very...
Oh, it's because you're drug-free. That's why. You're bulking. You can't build any muscle because you're drug-free.
Small amounts. And
I see. So drugs have magic powers. They can build myofibrils by themselves, like poof, magically out of thin air. Oh, okay.
Trying to bulk 3 or 4 pounds a month. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
Right? That's your problem. Of course, you're gaining almost nothing but fat.
So let me get this straight. These drugs have magic powers. They can build myofibrils without damaging them. I had no idea. So see, guys, you don't have to damage muscles anymore. Just take these drugs, right? Lift, and you don't have to damage muscles. And guess what? You're going to build muscles, bulking and taking drugs. They're going to magically build them for you. Even though science will corroborate what I say, that without damage, those drugs, they don't work, bro. Get it? Without damaging. So if you don't want to damage your muscles, don't do it. Get it? And you're not damaging it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Get it? You're just playing with the weight.
Because you're gaining, half a pound.
So now you're like, well, damaging is too difficult for me, so I'll go and I'll bulk instead. I'll do something fake. I'll fake it to make it. I'll bulk and fake it to make it. Oh, okay.
Muscle.
Like Blaha.
And 3 pounds of fat.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
And they're not getting that. They have this idea that, well, what do you mean? Isn't that what I should be doing? Like,
where's that debunking guy? Where's all these debunking people? They want to debunk me, remember? They want to debunk me. Oh, what's the matter? Because I brought out the real science, the real stuff now, the eccentric overload, right? Is that it? No more debunking guy coming around anymore, eh? Shut the fuck up, right? I brought out more science to prove what I say, huh? See, in eccentric exercise, we do have modalities. We have different modalities. You understand me? There's other ways as well to get more things out of eccentric overload exercises. We use different terminologies. We use different things that we're doing. Our exercises are geared towards different things. We lift heavier. Yeah, I know. You never thought about that. You didn't think about that. You didn't know that. Eccentric exercise, we lift heavier. You have to lift heavier. That old saying when people tell you, they say, you gotta lift heavy, like you gotta lift heavier to get bigger, right? You do. You do have to lift heavier to get bigger, but not concentrically going against gravity. You have to go with gravity, the opposite direction. Duh. That was the problem. With more people, they didn't understand. When people were telling you you have to lift really heavy to build muscle, well, you do have to lift heavy to damage muscle so it can build bigger and stronger. But it has to be in the opposite direction. And you could always lift over 140% heavier than you could lift concentrically. Hello.
No, nobody should be doing that. Like,
Nobody, no,
you
no.
shouldn't be gaining 3 or 4 pounds. I mean, 2 pounds a month is an aggressive.
I mean, for me, when back in the day when I moved for eccentric exercise, I like overload stuff, building my body. I ate everything that was in sight. I ate everything. It was nonstop eating. It was like a marathon fest. Hell, I remember being late at night and I would just like, I don't know, I would just go down the street. It was like half a block. There was a donut shop there. And I just walk half a block from where I lived and I just go to the donut shop. I like eat like down 5 donuts and 4 or 5 Coca-Colas. I was crazy at that time, because the restaurant was closed. It was late. So, but there's restaurants where I live too, right there on the street, and I would go there all the time, and I would just order food and just eat and eat, and bro, I just would eat. I would cook some stuff at home, make some stuff at home, but I would eat like crazy. I think I downed like a pack of eggs or two packs of eggs a day, 2 dozen eggs a day, and I just kept eating. I found buffets where they were cheap, and I could eat as much as I wanted. It was crazy.
Aggressive bulk. And even
I love this one. Aggressive bulk. I did. I aggressively bulked when I damaged my muscles eccentrically. So I aggressively bulked. The more I aggressively bulked when I damaged my muscles, the bigger I got. But if I didn't damage any muscles and I went to work out in the gym and I tried to get better lifting concentrically like these so-called small strong guys and I bulked, I would have gotten fat instead. I would not have built any muscle back then in the day. So I would never have experienced that to know what that would truly be like to be fucking massively fucking strong like a motherfucker. I would have never experienced that. And I'm glad I had the experience. You understand me? It's not something that I want to do the rest of my life, enslave myself to lifting. I had a life. I moved to a foreign country and I was enjoying my life after that. But when I did do it, I reached the goal. So the goal was over for me. You understand me? Once I reached that goal, I discovered what built muscle, what it felt like, and how to get there. I completed my goal, was over. But a lot of people, they're still there hanging around 50 years later. They've never reached the goal. They're just there, a lifting slave. You understand me? They're there lifting forever concentrically, trying to eke out gains concentrically, bro. It's crazy. You understand me? I reached my goal back in the late 90s. You know where we are right now? 2025. And there's people still online trying to get to that goal. And they can't make it, bro. They have to fake everything to try to get there. And then they're still disappointed because they've never made it. And that's a problem. Here's the thing. A lot of people write to me and tell me, they say, I've never felt this before. I've never had this kind of damage where I could do these exercises where I could bring this damage back. Like what you told me. They go, Christ. You know that? But again, like everything, you have to be patient. You have to give it time to work. It takes a while before you could see gains eccentrically. It could take weeks to months to see gains. You understand me? Yeah, it takes a while. These myofibulars, they have to size up themselves. They're the size of your hair. You know that? A myofibular is like a hair. So yeah. So the more you keep getting of them, then eventually it'll add to the mass and so forth and so on.
2 pounds, all right? Let me be clear. If you're gaining 2 pounds a month, you better be a skinny, rank novice who's skinny, like with.
If you're gaining 2 pounds a month, how do you know that's myofibular growth? How do you know? I know if it's myofibular. I know if I'm gaining muscle or if I'm not gaining muscle. And sometimes I know why I'm not gaining muscle. Even, let's say sometimes I'm getting some damage, but I'm not gaining. I already know what's going on there exactly. You understand me? I know why I'm not gaining because I'm not reaching the deeper, weaker muscle fibers anymore to try to get them to bounce back bigger and stronger. See what I mean? That means I need to adjust. I need to adjust sets or weight or sets and weight together. I have to keep adjusting them. That's how real bodybuilding is based on these principles I told you before. They're just based on those principles. They're ba- they're based on three principles of lifting, and they're based on adjusting the sets. The reps are always the same, 8 and 12. You never bypass 12. There's a reason for that. I'm not going to explain it now. You don't go less than 8 because you won't get enough damage. And you never go past 12 because now it becomes endurance. You don't want that. All right? You'll become shot in the exercise. But you always adjust the sets and the weight accordingly. It's either more sets, or you either add more weight, or you add more weight, or you add more sets, or you add sets and weight together. You understand me? That's how it works. That's all you need to know. You don't need to know anything else. And the three principles of lifting in eccentric exercise, which is going to be maximal lifting, which means lowering, the lowering phase. Maximal just means lowering. So the three parts are what would they be? Submaximal would be supramaximal, and then accentuated. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to know. There's not a lot else. Now, when you move more into the realm of like inertia movements, these inertia, isokinetic, yeah, they are a part of eccentric exercise too as well. There's combination how you move about doing these things. You understand me? They're just more complete movements. They're more full body movements, but they're different than in powerlifting. They're not the same. An inertia movement is unlike something you would be doing in power. It's something like a full body movement with weight, but it's unlike powerlifting. Powerlifting is a compound full body movement. You're using your whole body. But in inertia, you're using your whole body too. The only thing is you're doing something different. You're moving your body, but you're holding a weight and moving around with it. It's complicated. Probably we'd have to show you what it looks like. I mean, you could do it on a cable machine, or you could do it with dumbbells. You could either do it with dumbbells or with a cable machine.
Underweight or on your first cycle of anabolics. Okay.
See, again, he's always with your first cycle of anabolics. He keeps talking about anabolics because I told you, because he doesn't know what builds muscles. Get it? So he's got to fake it with you people, fake you people.
Notice I didn't say on anabolics. I said your first time, those virgin receptors.
Yes, your first time, those virgin receptors, yes, to fake it, cosmetically, fake it.
For anybody else, you're just gaining fat. And here's the thing. The only people who are gaining, those are the only people who are going to gain 2 pounds of muscle in a month. Like, that's it. And I know people say, but there are charts that show muscle growth, that up to 2 pounds. Yeah, it's up to. It's up to.
Man, you could practically gain, I don't know. Can't say it's all muscle, but if you're lifting eccentrically and you're really down for it, you could gain at least a good 1.5, 2 pounds per week. Yeah, it depends how much you're eating and the amount of damage you got in that session. So, but I can't say that is all muscle there. Get it? There could be some fluid and so forth and so on. You understand me? It's complicated. But in this instant, you're going all out. In other words, you have time and money, you're going all out. In other words, you're eating like you're just eating a lot, and you're getting more damage in the gym because you've got free time. So you could stay there and try to get as much damage as you can in that one session and then leave. See what I mean? Now, in eccentric overload, usually your sessions are a lot shorter. They could be shorter than usual. Some people trying to eke out full range of motion, trying to eke out this damage, trying to overwork the muscle, that's going to take you a lot longer, definitely. But I mean, you get some cardio out of it and a bunch of bullshit too. There is some concentric lifting there because it's full range. But, man, eccentric overload is always going to be a lot easier. It's going to be less taxing, a lot easier. It's not going to wear you out. And your session would be a lot shorter too because you're just handling heavier loads. So you'll get more damage out of the session anyway, regardless. That's why it's superior. It's superior because you're handling heavier loads. You don't have to go through all the bullshit to get this damage to come back. You just handle more loads, more sets, and that's it. That's it, basically. And yeah, your session, if you add more weight in somewhat sets, then definitely you're handling more. You're gonna get more damage. Your session's gonna be shorter because you got enough damage. You'll know if you're damaged. You'll know. You go on a feeling. It's a different feeling lifting eccentrically than concentrically.
I mean, just like you go see at certain companies and they might say, hey, our employees make up to 300,000 a year, and you go apply and they offer you 30. I'm just throwing it out there that, yeah, up to. And there are cases where people gain 2 pounds a month. It's certainly not the majority.
No.
And it's not because they bulked faster, okay? It's because they were in a situation where they were really underweight or really undertrained. This is what causes it. This is why they're able to do that, okay? So that you understand the situation, all right? So in that context, if you're in a case where you're still a novice, you can gain maybe a pound of muscle a month, and that's really good. So what does that mean for if you're gaining 2 pounds a month? Well, that half of it's fat. Now, you're gaining 3 pounds a month. Now,
Wow, you're gaining 3 pounds a month, 2 pounds. Man, you're just getting fat. But here's the thing. If you put on 20 pounds of fat, 20 pounds weighing down on your body, you're walking around all day, your body's going to have to compensate. How? Man, muscle, it's going to have to compensate with you gaining muscle because you're going with gravity. That's why people really, that's the reason why they did that. They get people to bulk to get fat, and then they say, okay, so if you bulk, it weighs down on your body will build these, so-called muscles, right? These myofibrillars. And then guess what? And then what you do is you cut down. Wow, that is just insane, isn't it? So you want to destroy your health, getting fat, eating garbage food, right? Accelerated aging and just destroying yourselves over time, slowly, DNA damage, whatever. And then you want to cut down. So now it's time to cut. And hopefully you'll keep the muscle that you got from when you got fat. So what does that have to do with lifting weights? Think about it. Why do you have to go to the gym and lift weights if you bulk and get fat? And so that fat weighs down on your body has to compensate by growing what? More myofibrillars, right? To compensate for the weight. Okay. So you forced your body in a position to build it by getting fat, right? Okay. So why do you need a gym? Go get fat. Go eat, go get fat, build muscle, and then when it does build it, and then cut down. See if you maintain it. After you cut, here's the thing. After you go on a cut, right, this so-called cutting, see if you maintain it. But remember, when you're cutting, you're losing what? Yeah, you're not eating a lot. So there's a protein breakdown. A lot of people make the mistake of they bulked and then they went to the gym and then they cut and they start lifting weights. They start lifting weights to open windows for protein breakdown. And then they realize they never built any muscle because now they start lifting. They're eating less calories. They're lifting. There's an open window for protein breakdown. And then they start losing the muscle that they gained on the bulk. You see how stupid that is? That's really dumb.
We've already covered. There's no way most of you are gaining 2 pounds. You're definitely not gaining 3 pounds of muscle.
All because they didn't want to go through the pain of damaging, repairing, and remodeling their muscles. They wanted to take a fake shortcut. They wanted to bulk to gain muscle. so that the weight weighed them down with gravity. So their body forced their body in a position to adapt. It had to adapt how? By growing these myofibrillars to compensate for the fat that you're carrying around. Otherwise, you'd be completely fucked. You wouldn't be able to walk around properly.
A month. So if you're gaining 3 pounds of body weight a month, statistically speaking, is the
So does that have anything to do with lifting, bulking? No, nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing.
majority of it fat? Yes. Okay, so let's not even get into when they start gaining 4 or 5. Let's go with the 3. So let's say really good scenario, you gained a pound of muscle. Not just
I've gained like 20 pounds before I've done a video, 20 pounds of sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. 20 pounds of sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, that's a lot, bro, believe me. So my body had to have compensated for that amount of fluid I'm carrying by increasing some myofibrillar size. Yeah. See what I mean? It's just like people ask me I talk to these guys. I told them amino acids can build these myofibrillars, and they're like, how can it build a myofibrillar? I go, because they're proteins. They have specific things in there for actin myosin. These contractile proteins, they can build them. How do they just do them by themselves? Well, that I don't know. Just laying there and it building it by itself. It's kind of odd. I do know you do have to do some movements for sure. You have to move around for it to build myofibrillars, right? But here's the thing. If you're asking me personally about amino acids, I'm just saying if there was a minimal amount of damage, then definitely it would compensate because you're eating amino acids. It would come back to repair and remodel it. You'll get more of it because your body sometimes forgoes that. It just repairs it without remodeling. Here's the problem. You can damage muscles at some point where it's not going to remodel them. It'll just repair them now because it's so adapted to your exercises. That's the reason why you have to adjust your sets and the amount of weight that you're using. You gotta in your head, you gotta keep track of how much you're lifting all the time, your sets, and the amount of weight you're using. See what I mean? But you definitely want to strive for more weight and sometimes more sets.
half a pound. You did this for 6 months, right? You gained 6 pounds, 6 pounds of muscle, 18 to 20 pounds. 6 pounds of muscle, 18 to 20 pounds of
Okay.
body weight. Well, you gained mostly fat, right? So
That's weight that you see very quickly coming on, right? It's okay, fat. Again, in eccentric exercise, it takes a while. It could take weeks to months to see gains because you're building up these myofibrils. You're not building up fluid and junk in your body or fat.
person's like, I don't earn muscle. Well, you gained muscle. You just gained mostly fat. You didn't gain all fat, but you gained mostly fat.
Yeah, he did. He did gain some muscle because when he got fat, the body compensated with all that weight by giving you some muscle. Not a lot. I don't know how much. Maybe a tiny bit.
Right? And that's assuming, all right, that pound of muscle assumes your training was really, really dialed in. Okay, was your training dialed in?
Let's assume for every 10 pounds of fat that you put on, your body compensates by, I don't know, putting on maybe 2 pounds of muscle to compensate. So when you get 10 pounds of fat, so let's say you put on 20 pounds. Okay, let's say you put, for every 20 pounds, your body compensates by giving you 5 pounds of muscle. 5 pounds for every 20 pounds of fat. Okay, so you gain like 20 pounds of fat, right? You get fat, 20 pounds or something. And you gained 5 pounds of muscle because of that weight bearing down on your body, 5 pounds, right? Okay, now you go on a cut. You go, I'm going to go on a cut now. I'm going to cut down all this fat that I gained, whatever, to reveal what's underneath, to see what the gains I got. Okay, but you're on a low restricted caloric diet now. You're doing cardio and a bunch of stuff. The problem is a lot of people, they lose it. They lose all of it because they went on an aggressive cut. That's the problem. That's why people tell you, they go, oh, these so-called fake people like Blaha, they go, you need to cut slowly so you don't lose muscle. What do they mean by that? When they say cut slowly, don't lose muscle, they mean that the muscle that your body compensated you with, they don't want you to lose it. Get it? That little tiny 5 pounds you got for putting on 20 pounds of fat. And then you just like go off it. Get it? Yeah.
Like, how hard were you training? Like, be honest with yourself. Like, were you pushing your squats, your bench press, your pull-ups and all that really hard and filling in the gaps with supplemental work, to fatigue to failure with appropriate volume, sleep on point, all that? Were you doing all that? You might not have even gained a pound of muscle. You didn't have that stuff dialed in. So what happened then? So you've gained 12 to 14 pounds of body fat. And so what happens when you diet it off? Well, you lose some muscle tissue, especially if you don't have a lot of knowledge and experience, especially if you felt really fat, like, oh man, I'm getting fat, and you crash diet really fast. How many of them are like, yeah, man, I lost that weight in 6 weeks? Like, you did what? You lost 20 pounds in 6 weeks. Yeah, you don't think you lost a bunch of muscle? Well, yeah.
Yeah. If you lose it too fast, then anything that was compensated, you lose. It's kind of obvious.
No, maybe. So that's why you didn't gain any muscle. You bulked too fast, gained way more fat than you gained muscle, because you gained muscle just fine. And then you cut and you panicked and you crash dieted and you lost 5 pounds of muscle tissue. Not that you can't gain muscle, you're eating like a jackass. Okay, and that's my point. And I will point this out. Look, if you're, whatever, 160 pound guy right now, let's say you barely eat. Like, let's say you gain even slower than the pound a month, but your training is perfect. And you're eating, like, let's say you're eating 150 grams of protein a day.
Okay.
And you're even 160, right? But you're not shredded. You're at a normal, healthy, reasonable body fat. And you barely gain any weight. Over the 6 months, you only gain 3 pounds of muscle, of body weight. 2 pounds. In 6 months. You do know you're...
What a cop-out, eh? I have to go to a gym and I have to get fat to build muscle because I don't know how to build muscles.
You're going to gain muscle. If your training is truly dialed in, at that point, there is no way.
And you don't even know what kind of muscle you really built. Was it in parallel only? It's definitely not in series. You know what I mean? Is it in series or parallel? Most likely it's in parallel. It's not even in series. So there you go.
You didn't gain significant amounts of muscle.
Yeah. See? He's equating getting fat with building muscle. How is fat building you muscle? How is getting fat building you muscle? Because it's weighing you down with gravity. That's how.
I'm going to go out so far as to say that if you only gained 2 pounds in that 6 months, but your training was perfect, you will have gained more muscle than the weight you gained. You will.
Well, yeah, if your training was perfect, if it was based on eccentric overload exercise and you damaged these muscles and you bulked, yeah, definitely you would build some muscle. But you're not doing that. See what I mean? None of you are. Neither is he.
Lost body fat. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. And therein lay the problem. These guys are just bulking too fast instead of saying, hey, how about I just stay nice and lean?
Therein lays the problem.
And barely slowly gain weight and get my training done.
See, therein lays the problem. You have to bulk. You have to go through all this fake stuff.
Dialed in, get my nutrition really dialed in, keep my protein high, make sure I'm eating a clean, healthy diet, make sure my sleep's on point.
You need the protein. Why? You don't even need it. You're bulking, aren't you? You're getting fat.
And I'm really and truly putting in the work in the gym. I'm not missing workouts. I'm doing the
yes, you're truly working out. Like, look at Blaha, this frivolous working out. Look at this working out.
Workout with proper programming, hard work sets, built around big compounds, filling in the gaps with smaller movements, good form. Why don't you do that?
Everything is compounded in eccentric exercise and bodybuilding. Everything is compounded because your lifts are heavier than what you could lift concentrically. It's heavy going down eccentrically.
and then you'll end up being leaner and bigger than where you started. Instead, these guys are over bulking and then going, I gained nothing but fat. And then when I diet, it's all gone. I didn't gain anything. It's like, well, you did, but you burned off the little bit that you got because you were being silly. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. That's the problem. You're normal. Everybody only gains mostly body fat in that situation. It's called being a member of the human race.
Oh.
That's what happened. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been.
Call a member of being the human race. Okay. Look at these concentric lifts. See you in the next one. Ciao, friends. That was funny.